So here we are. We are a week from Christmas. And as Christmas has bestowed upon me a new love for Star Wars, this is my Jin Erso and director Kreinig, because they were my favorite characters in Rogue One. NHL teams have their own Christmas wish list. And let's take a look at them now, shall we? Starting with the Anaheim Ducks. Honestly, I don't see the Ducks looking for a whole lot. Consistency, maybe, but every team's looking for consistency. Every team. And okay, come on. Come on. Gibson and Bernier both have middling numbers. I would think the Ducks would hope for some better goaltending from the two of them. But that's just nitpicking. Arizona Coyotes, they'll be hoping for good health for Mike Smith if they're going to have any hope of climbing back into any kind of wild card hopes. They need Mike Smith to be healthy. Also, not them, Arizona. They'll want Max Domi to be out for as little time as possible. They really needed their young players to continue developing really quickly in order to contend this year, and it really hasn't happened. Rabada's their number one scorer, which tells you where they're at. Boston. Boston right now has to be hoping for somebody other than Pasternak to be able to score. And honestly, they need Tuukka Rask to play every game. So they'll be hoping for that. Buffalo. Buffalo's had fantastic goaltending. The numbers are great. The problem with Buffalo, what they're going to be hoping for Christmas, well, the number one scorer is Okposo. O'Reilly's missed some games. They need everybody to be healthy. They need Evander Kane to be the good Evander Kane, not the bad Evander Kane. They need Eichel to play like a star now, not later. And I would think they want a few more points from Marcus Foligno than they're getting right now. Calgary. Calgary wants Johnny Gaudreau in good health. And they want Johnny Gaudreau and Sean Monahan and Troy Brouwer to turn their early season numbers around. It has been mostly a disaster for them. Dougie Hamilton's looked very good for them. But they're going to want some of the young players to develop a little better. And if Backlund could score a few more points, that would help them as well. And of course, in terms of their other glaring issue, they need Elliott to play like the guy that they picked up from St. Louis. Not like he has so far this season. As much as I like Chad Johnson being a big story, I'm a fan of Chad Johnson's. The fact that he is in this position shows that Calgary is having problems. Let's see. Carolina. Cam Ward has been decent. If Carolina has a wish, Aho, as good as he's been, I think they'll want him to score a few more goals. They're going to want Stahl to remain healthy. Slavin and Hanifin to pot a few more points on the blue line. Falks kind of slipped back a little this year. So they're going to want more overall production. Not that their goaltenders have been great, but Ward has not been the problem. And Chicago, I honestly don't know that I'm going to be able to find a weakness with Chicago where I can say, oh, for Christmas they'll want Patrick Kane to have more than 9 goals in 33 games, I guess. Duncan Keith to score a goal, maybe? I mean, I'm nitpicking. I'm really, really nitpicking. Okay, I had to wait for the noise outside the window or outside the door to calm down a little bit. But yeah, Chicago, honestly, right now they're cruising. Colorado, their issue is, man, you know, McKinnon and Duchesne have so much talent, this team being down where they're at doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Grigorenko has had so many chances and just doesn't seem to be doing it. Their goaltenders, neither of them have really good stats so far this year. Colorado needs to make some changes, massive changes, and you have to wonder how long it's going to be before the GM, as storied and wonderful as he is, how long it is before going to be before the entire management structure in Colorado changes. As Edmonton has proven over the last 20 years, having guys who were a part of a Stanley Cup winner doesn't necessarily mean they're going to build a Stanley Cup winner. Columbus, you want Bobrovsky to play every game. Sergei Bobrovsky's been fantastic. Atkinson's playing fantastic. Saad, Gagne's been reborn. Nick Foligno's been great. Werenski looks like he's going to be in the hunt for Calder. I kept wanting to say Norris. All Hartnell does is put up points, and there's no pressure on Seth Jones right now to be a big point producer. He's on pace for about 35 because he's missed some games. So yeah, Columbus looks good. Dallas, fix the goaltending, fix Jason Spezza. Next, Detroit. Zetterberg's your #1 scorer. They're going to want any of their other young talent to start stepping forward, including Dylan Larkin. 2 assists in 32 games is terrible. And I don't care who his line mates are. 2 assists in 32 games is unconscionable. They have some serious problems in Detroit right now, and they look like they're going to miss the playoffs. Edmonton. Edmonton wants consistency. One night they look like they're going to, beat the world, and the next night they look like they can't beat the Maple Leafs because they lost to the Maple Leafs. Nugent Hopkins has looked great at times. He's looked iffy at other times. I honestly think Nugent Hopkins moving on would be best for the team, and best for Nugent Hopkins as well. Florida, direction, and direction from a hockey-related person. This team was put together by analytics, and it's basically a disaster right now. Analytics are great, but you can't use just analytics to put together a team. You need to have other parts to put a team together. Los Angeles Kings, they're going to want Quick back. The thing about saying that is that, honestly, Budaj has been pretty good for them. Budaj's not the problem. His .913 save percentage is iffy, but that 14-7 record is nice. 3 shutouts. So, really, honestly, the Kings look good in that area. Minnesota Wild, they're another team that want their goaltender to start every single game and remain healthy, so Devin Dubnyk is the key. And the rejuvenated Eric Staal has to keep it going. And I don't see any reason why he won't. Eric Staal will never get the kind of points that he had when he was younger, but he doesn't need to. He has really played well for Minnesota in the games I've watched. And it goes way beyond anything you see on the score sheet. So I'm not bothered that he's only going to score about 55, 60 points at this rate. He's back to being what he was in Carolina, just without all the points. Montreal, well, of course, they want Carey Price to remain healthy, and they want Galchenyuk back as soon as possible. And Desharnais. The interesting thing with Montreal is that Desharnais only had 3 goals and 9 points in 25 games when he got hurt. But there's no depth at center, so they really kind of need Desharnais back. And Plekanec needs to rediscover a scoring touch, some kind of scoring touch, somewhere, somehow. Nashville, consistency. There's no consistency. I was reading today that Arvidsson's their best player. Does this surprise me? No. Anybody who watched videos I made before the season started, I said Victor Arvidsson was a guy that I saw as a breakthrough, not necessarily star, but I saw him as a guy who's going to break through scoring-wise. He's got 20 points in 30 games. 9 of those points are goals. He's looked great. But he's on a team that's underperforming. And Rinne has been great, bad. He's at a .916 save percentage right now. He's not the problem, but he needs to be more of the solution than he has been. Corey Schneider's numbers are bad in New Jersey. The Devils are going to want to turn that around. It's surprising to say that about Corey Schneider. I think he'll turn it around. I can't see why he won't. Taylor Hall has been good. They'll want his health to remain solid. And that Parento guy that I mentioned in the Islanders video, he has 11 points in 28 games for the Devils. So that was a loss for the Islanders there. Speaking of the Islanders, they're going to want a happy Tavares for Christmas. They're also going to want to see more goals from their depth guys. Really hasn't happened to this point, and they need the goaltending situation to be fixed. This has gone on long enough. I look at their goaltenders, and Grice has been iffy, Halak's been iffy, and then Berube plays tonight, and he's not great either. You've got 3 iffy goaltenders. Get rid of one of them. The Rangers, Lundqvist played really well tonight, so that's a start. They need Lundqvist to play like Henrik Lundqvist if they're going to keep up this run they've been on early in the season. What else would they want for Christmas? Well, Hayes is the #1 scorer. They're not necessarily going to want him to remain there, but there's so much depth. Zuccarello, Nash, Kreider, Stepan, Miller, and Hayes all have 20 or more points. Grabner has 13 goals, but that's deceptive. Most of those were scored early on in the season, and he's iffy. VC has been very good. They're going to want him to continue to score. If he scores 20 goals this year, they shouldn't have any problem making the playoffs whatsoever. Ottawa. Well, Ottawa's going to want to continue to ride the emotional crest that the team's been on with what's going on with Craig Anderson with his wife. The team has honestly looked like they've really come together over that. There's some iffy totals for some of their players here, but in general, things are going well for Ottawa. And if I look at their goaltending stats, Condon has a .925 save percentage, and Anderson has a .924. So as long as you have goaltenders who are both over .920, you're going to win a lot of games. The Senators are one of those teams that I always kind of feel like there's an emotional lift these teams get, and they can ride that wave. Ottawa did it a couple years ago with Hammond as their goalie, and now they seem to be doing it as well over the Craig Anderson issue. Philadelphia, man, coming off of a 10-game winning streak, there's not a whole lot for them to wish for Christmas, but Steve Mason's .905 save percentage, I know he's been a lot better during the winning streak, but he's got to maintain that. He's got to keep that momentum up. And they're also going to want to see a continued excellence from Claude Giroux and Jakub Voracek. Voracek right now is on pace for 82 points, so that's pretty amazing. And they need that to continue. Pittsburgh, health of Sidney Crosby is right at the top of their Christmas wish list. Connor Sheary is playing well above what he was supposed to, and they're going to want that to continue. And hey, look who's a plus 18 on their blue line. Justin Schultz. 18 points in 32 games and a plus 18. Holy crap. Now, again, we talk about plus minus. No, it doesn't really matter. I'm sorry, but when Schultz has a plus 18 and Letang has a -3, that tells me Justin Schultz is playing very, very well. And of course, in goal, they're going to want for Christmas to relieve the issue of which goaltender's the starter. But that probably will stick around until at least the deadline. San Jose, don't ever get hurt Brent Burns. If there was a Christmas Carol for them, that's what it would be. Marlowe's offensive stats have kind of fallen apart this year. Hurdle's on the IR. They want Hurdle back. And in terms of goaltenders, Jones has played 27 games so far to Dell's 5. Dell's only started 4. So Jones had better keep drinking some major Kool-Aid and limber up as much as possible because he's probably going to play about 70 games this year. St. Louis Blues, consistency. Again, they're one of those teams that have been ebbing and flowing, but they've had a good run lately. Parayko looks like he is capable of maintaining what he started as a rookie. Tarasenko is one of the best goal scorers, one of the best players in the league. But their goaltending, the goaltending in St. Louis, If you're going to have a Christmas wish in St. Louis. A 905 save percentage for Allen is not good enough. And Carter Hutton with an 889 save percentage. That's really not good enough. I really thought that Carter Hutton was capable of being what they needed, and so far that hasn't happened. Tampa. Better play from Ben Bishop would be a start. Seeing a return to health quickly for Stamkos would be another. And just in general, they need their team to play better than they have been. And again, I know they didn't play great the first half of last year, but you can't keep doing this. You can't keep digging yourself into a hole because eventually you can't dig your way out of it. Toronto Maple Leafs for Christmas, good health. Good health across the board. Keep this team together. Win or lose, this is the Maple Leafs team. And then at the end of this year, when they likely miss the playoffs and they likely get another top 10 or top 5 draft pick, they're just going to keep adding. And Freddie Anderson, they're going to want Anderson to play more like he's played the last 15 games than the one who started the season. The Canucks, boy, I don't know where to start with the Canucks. Daniel Sedin's the number 1 scorer with 20 points in 31 games. I guess for Christmas, the Canucks want goals. It's a well-known fact that Jim Benning's out there trying to acquire offense. The problem is 29 other GMs are trying to acquire offense as well. There are some really ugly numbers in Vancouver. And I've heard for a long time about how Vancouver goaltending is not the problem. It's the last of their troubles. Markstrom has a 903 save percentage. Miller has a 910. Neither of those numbers are good enough. And I know people are going to say, well, it's not Markstrom's fault. It's not Miller's fault. You need to look at the quality of the shots. Either way, you have to be better. You have to steal some games. Neither goalie has proven that they can steal games, and the Canucks are tied to Markstrom for another 3 years. The Capitals are playing some fantastic hockey lately, and if anything, I would think they want more points than they've been getting from Ovechkin. 23 points in 30 games is not the point of game he used to be. I know he's not a point of game player anymore, but when he's only got 14 goals in 30 games, he's on pace for about 35 or 40. He's got to be better. And I would think more goals from the blue line would help them in the second half of the season. The Capitals are the team I picked to win the Cup. Right now, they don't look like a team that will win the Cup. And the Winnipeg Jets, finally. Scheifele's totals have fallen since the first 15 games. I think Jets fans would like to see him get back to where he was. Laine looks like the real deal in terms of his goal scoring. Ehlers looks like the real deal in terms of his passing. There's a natural synergy between the two. Wheeler's fallen back down to more of where he traditionally has been with 23 points in 33 games. That's fine, but he's not scoring like he did last year. And in net, if there's a team that's saying, geez, we should be better in goal, Winnipeg might be that team. Hellebuck is at 909 save percentage, and Hutchinson's at an 896. So when people say, well, you can't bring Pavlich up to the NHL because he's not playing very well in the American Hockey League, true, but the NHL counterparts aren't doing the job either. So there's my 30 teams, what they want for Christmas, in my eyes anyways. Let me know what you think in the comments. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing through. And thanks for watching, and I will talk to you all again soon.